Iran's president has slammed the U.S. and its regional allies for providing support for terrorist groups in the Middle East, including the perpetrators of Saturday's bloody attack in the Iranian city of Ahvaz.
These small mercenary countries are supported by the U.S. It is the U.S. that provokes these countries. It is the U.S. that provides them with the necessary conditions and opportunities which make it possible for them to commit such crimes. But such crimes will have no bearing on the determination of the Iranian people.
Rouhani underlined that it is clear who perpetrated the act of terror and with whom they are affiliated. The Iranian president added those who claim to be supporters of human rights in the world and keep banging the drums for the same should be held accountable for the deadly assault. Rouhani vowed that all perpetrators behind the attack on the Iranian nation will be brought to justice. He warned that Iran will exhaust all legal channels to retaliate against the bloody crime with full force. Speaking ahead of his departure for New York to attend the UN General Assembly, Rouhani also accused the U.S. of abusing the world body.
The Americans are more than ever before showing off their power by using bullying as a tactique. They have adopted a unilateralist approach which they continue to implement. They think that any country which is powerful can make decisions for all nations in the world. They are under the impression that any state with the veto power is allowed to do whatever it desires.
Rouhani said the authority of the U.S. at the UN Security Council should be similar to other countries. He added Washington has no respect for international law and even agreements already signed by previous U.S. administrations. The Iranian president characterized the ruling elite at the White House as unilateralists gripped with ultra-nationalist views. Political analyst Ali Rizk joins us now via satellite from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Mr. Rizk, welcome to the program. Walk us through the key points of President Rouhani's comments.
Well, I think that, it has to be taken in mind that this is the most, probably the most anti-Iranian American administration we've seen in recent history. People like John Bolton, who was a well-known Iranian hawk, in addition to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, even Secretary of Defense James Mattis, who is considered or described as a moderate, is known for his hawkish stances towards Iran. So it's not surprising that we have the Iranian President Sheikh Hassan Rouhani pointing the finger at the U.S. And in addition to the fact, were it not for U.S. support or the assistance which the U.S. provides these countries, indeed they probably wouldn't be able to carry out any of their actions, be it the war in Yemen or any other terrorism. But it's also worth mentioning a memo which was written by the American National Security Advisor John Bolton back in 2017. In that particular memo, John Bolton said that the United States or that US and its allies should provide assistance to Khuzestan Arabs, between brackets. When you recall those statements by Bolton and what happened yesterday in Ahwaz specifically, I think that does indeed raise some question marks about possible US involvement and the involvement of its allies in the attacks which happened yesterday.
And also, ahead of President Rouhani's departure for New York to attend the UN General Assembly, he stated that the U.S. is abusing the world body, adding that the authority of the U.S. at the UNSC should be similar to other countries. He's alluding to the fact that the United States has abused its veto power over the past, isn't he?
Yes, of course, in particular with this administration, this particular administration has threatened the UN. We all know that the US provides a lot of funding for UN bodies. We're seeing how, for example, regarding UNRWA, issues related to Palestine, how the US is using the power it has or the hegemony it has. But I think that most important of all, these statements being made from New York, from Tehran just before President Rouhani's departure to New York, I think this shows that we are going to witness a possible showdown at the UN between Trump and between Rouhani. But I think that in this particular case, Trump will probably be on the losing side, because it's not just Iran now which is upset with America's policies. Now we have even America's allies, including the Europeans, who are quite dismayed with the Trump policies. So it just might be that we could see that Trump himself and his administration, we could see them isolated in the General Assembly meetings, in particular when it comes to Iran and the fact that the United States under Trump withdrew unilaterally from that agreement to the JCPOA, which was reached in 2015.
Political analyst Aya Risk joining us from Beirut. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Risk.